The other speaker probably is cervical cancer prevention and telemedicine by Anna. All right.
The implementation of cervical cancer prevention and telemedicine in an actual project in Mongolia. The project in Mongolia is a big project, and it is for maternal and newborn health. It is a project from the Luxembourg government, from the UNFPA, from the Swiss government, and from the Millennium Project. So it's a project which is implemented in whole Mongolia, and Mongolia is especially, for me, I'm from Germany, it is a big country. For India, it's a small country, but Mongolia has a special situation. There is the big capital, and in the capital, in Ulaanbaatar, are living about 1.2 million people, and the rest is also around 1.5 million people, and they live in the country, but they are not living at a certain place. Most of them are nomads, so they are traveling around. They are going around in summer, and in wintertime they are staying. But it's very difficult for them to go to a hospital, because in most places there is no hospital, and in Mongolia there are hardly any roads. So it's very difficult to go to the capital, to go to a hospital and to have cervical cancer screening. Especially, I'm talking about colposcopy and pap smears. So that means women in the countryside, in the rural area, they will not have any screening. So the government decided to do screening. But the main problem is, as there are no hospitals, there are no doctors, there are no expert doctors who can say a diagnosis for this cervical cancer screening. So the idea was to do pap smear screening, to have to do the laboratory work in the countryside, and then to send the images through telemedicine to the expert doctors in the capital of Ulaanbaatar. So this is, you can see here now, this is Mongolia, where you see the line with the green and red dots. That is Ulaanbaatar. That is where hospitals can do diagnosis, where expert doctors are. And the other points are the screening areas where there are nurses who can do the screening, because it's not very difficult to do pap smears. You don't need a doctor, but you need a doctor for the diagnosis. Telemedicine, how we understand it, is that you have, in that case, you have a telemedicine center. That can be a center in a country, that can be a center in a hospital. It depends how you need it. In that case, it is a telemedicine center in the capital of Mongolia, and then the first 8 stations, these can be the nurses outside in the rural country, and then there are national experts in Mongolia. There are single national experts, but there are also expert groups. They can come together and discuss very difficult cases, and there can also be expert groups or expert doctors outside of Mongolia in other countries. When in Mongolia, for that project, Campus Medicus is used, and Campus Medicus is a web-based telediagnostic platform. Web-based means, in that case, for Campus Medicus, you don't have to install any software. It is purely web-based, like you know it from when you use Google. You never install anything. You just write the link, and then you're there. And that's the same for Campus Medicus. You never have to think about upgrading, updating anything. You always have the latest version of the software. And you also don't need any special hardware. That means what you need is a computer or a PC, a Mac. It is browser independent, so you can just work with your computer you have. And Campus Medicus is for doctors. In that case, we are not talking about patients. Campus Medicus wants to exchange diagnosis information from doctor to doctor. And this is especially for pap smears. It is important. You see here now how Campus Medicus, the surface looks like. On the left side, you have the patient cases. In the middle, you have one patient case, and you have the pap smear slides captured with a microscope and a microscope camera, and you upload the images. And on the right side, you have the real-time chat. That means doctors can write their diagnosis, and they can exchange diagnosis within instantly. This is store and forward. But you see here, you have the patient record. At the same time, when you think you would like to discuss one picture or several pictures, you can just switch to the video mode. That means you have within the patient record, you have the possibility to go from store and forward to video conference. And then you have an image. That means you can have a video conference, you can have the live microscope image, and you can talk to the other person, to the other doctor, which, for example, could mean the non-expert doctor has a microscope, he has a slide under the microscope, and you as an expert doctor, you can tell him, go, just move your slide, because I want to see the whole slide. This has the advantage that you can have real-time microscopy, and you don't need a slide scanner, which is very important for cost, because slide scanners are expensive. This solution is inexpensive because you only need a microscope and a camera. You also can do or add to the patient case forms for where you can add information about the patient, information about the treatment, and these forms can also be created online. And you don't have to know anything about programming. You create own forms just by drag and drop. And you can use these forms, which you created, for every patient you add to the database. And these, of course, these forms, the information in the database can be used for epidemiology, and you can export data, and you can import it to, let's say, to statistical software like Stata, SPSS, and so on. And you can then have, it is also for proving that it is sustainable, what you're doing, and you can show in publications your work. This is another thing, as you have the possibility of doing video conferences, you also can use, in a patient case, you can use the images you have. You can start a video conference, and you can use it for teaching. That is how they use it in Mongolia. They teach non-expert doctors by discussing cases. And that means for the next cases, they are already, they know what to look at. They learn with the cases. And these images are stored. The videos can be stored in in a patient case so that they can be recalled whenever they are needed. In Mongolia, we also did more than only providing the telemedicine network. We told them what they need, whether they needed, depending on what they needed, whether they wanted to do manual staining of these slides, or whether they wanted to do it automatically. And it's also we told them what kind of microscope to use, what kind of camera to set up the whole project. Now, Campus Medicus is not only for cervical cancer screening. It is just, this is an example how it is used in Mongolia. Campus Medicus can be used for any images where doctors, non-expert doctors, need diagnosis. So if anybody wants to test Campus Medicus, or if he wants to use it, there is a free access to Campus Medicus, and the use is for free. So you can either use this link, or you can write to information just telling that you want to have an access to cluehammer.com. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Thank you, Anna. That was very interesting talk. My question is, what happened? How do you follow them later? You do the smear and you get a positive. And how do you follow these patients up? What happens?
This is done by Mongolian doctors because it is their project, and they have expert doctors in the capital. So this is not really, this is not that Mongolia doesn't have expert doctors at all. The problem is that there are no expert doctors in the countryside. So it is their project. We, on Campus Medicus, we are not following it as a company. We are not following it. The Mongolian doctors, they organize their whole project on Campus Medicus. They are following it. They are sending also doctors for training to the countryside. That is their project. And it is funded, so this is not really a financial problem, and therefore it started in 2007, and it still goes on. So they are, yeah, it's a big project now.
How good are these slides? See, the most important, you know, the slide preparation.
Yeah.
Do you have any problems in the pertaining to the slide preparations to the telemedicine?
Sometimes, yes. There are sometimes problems, but then they get extra training until they become the quality they have to.
Ultimately, it all depends on the slide and the quality.
Yes.
And
yes.
how and
That's
the
very
transfer.
important.
That's important.
Yes. But, you know, they can, I mean, we did that also in African countries. We did it in Ethiopia and in Zimbabwe. And after a certain time of teaching, after a few weeks, they know how to stain and how to prepare the slides. Yes.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Campus Medicus being a web-based application?
Pardon?
It's a web-based application.
It's a purely web-based application.
With a lot of streaming, video streaming, and images being passed on, right?
Yes.
So in that case, what kind of internet bandwidths are required?
Oh, yeah.
Mongolia, I think.
I forgot to tell you. We programmed this software for rural countries. That means we didn't, one of our main tasks was to program it for low bandwidth, because when they use it in the desert of Mongolia, sometimes they don't have internet at all, and then they either they use a stick, which doesn't. When they don't have cable internet or wireless internet, they use this stick and they have connection. Or if they don't have that, they can use mobile phones, create a case. They can, they did it already. They take the mobile phone and put it on the eyepiece of the microscope and take a picture and send it through email to Campus Medicus. And then again, it is automatically creating a case, a patient record in Campus Medicus, and the expert doctors see the images. They write in Campus Medicus their diagnosis, and the diagnosis is sent back automatically to the mobile phone, so that the doctor, he doesn't, or the non-expert, he doesn't need, or she doesn't need a computer.
Thank
Any
you.
other
Thank you
questions?
very much.
Okay,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome.
Thank you very much. Yeah.